witnessed by any nation can only be driven by the level of education of that nation. So what are we talking about? Here is the foundation.
Okay, so there are
shortages.
There are insinuations that in as much as the government has refused to employ more teachers to address the shortfall, there's this issue of the Japa syndrome. Now, how is this affecting the primary education, and what hope do we have?
That is double tragedy for us. Somebody who is supposed to make sure that there is not even shortfall has failed. In another sense, those who are already within the system, they are not being taken care of. It is a natural force that you move. There is a kind of affinity to where you have succor. Mm-hmm. So, and the world is a global village now. You read about how your colleagues in the same profession fear in other climes, and there is not even that barrier in terms of, what do I call it, movement, job, occupation, movement. So in as much you can meet up the criteria. So that is how the Japa syndrome comes in a search for greener pasture. And already the government, who is a major employer of labor, because education is a social services, you can't leave it for business owners who will come in to make profit. So they are failing in their own respect, and in another respect, people are moving towards your greener pasture. That has now become a double tragedy. And over the years, NUT, the leadership of NUT has seen it all. That was the reason why we initiated the bill to elongate the service years of teachers. They thought that we were being selfish. They said that, oh, how can you grow old in the system when we have younger ones? Not even minding the fact that the younger ones, they are not interested in this poverty-stricken job
Profession.
That the people who have been there were there because they have passion. And they came in as at the time that the society placed value on teachers, that even if we are not seeing so much in terms of monetary gains, but the fact that you are respected in the society, is our teachers coming. So but all those are lacking now.
But Mr. Hassan, is that the problem that, because we've said like three things now. There is the Japa syndrome, there is the reluctance of governors to recruit, and there is also the lack of interest, by people, by young school leavers. On the issue of the non-recruitment, can you address that? Is it really true? As in, what could be the justification for governors not recruiting?
First of all, it's about value. Somebody who is coming to leadership is coming with a kind of perception in terms of his own value for certain aspect of human endeavor. So most of the people we find in the position of authority, they are coming in most of the time for personal benefit. And you can only, achieve this through, engaging in a kind of project that will bring kicks back. But when you try to invest in education, it's a social services. It involves a lot of money. So it's about opportunity cost. So they would rather choose to go into project, drainage, all those things that will bring money. Because sometimes the investment in human are not sometimes measurable. You cannot go out and point at it that this is what you have done in the last 5 years. But over time,
it's going to show.
It's going to show. But, people are coming in for 4 years hoping that I will have to do everything humanly possible to come in again. Would rather, go after something that will bring return of his investment in coming in the first place, and also have something to show. Each time you want to commission, you just have to gather people, celebrate. So this is about the value. So, and that has eroded a lot of, things within the education system. So if they really know that you can only drive development through education, then they will invest more. By recruiting more teachers who will be able to take care of this younger generation. It's not even helping them as a government. Because when you have a enlightened society, your policy will stay true. You will spend less on advocacy because immediately you talk about it when you have a enlightened society, they already analyze it and they already, pitch tent with you.
Seeing that, okay.
Apologies, Theophilus and Mr. Hassan. We'll take a break now and then return to talk more about this issue. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. We've been speaking with the chairman of the Nigerian Institute of Teachers in Lagos, Nigerian Union of Teachers, the NUT in Lagos State, Akintoye Hassan, about the shortage of primary school teachers, and it's said to be a national burden, a whopping gap of 194,876 teachers needed across the Universal Basic Education Scheme. And, we've been talking about, the reasons behind it and the way forward.
All right, so I'm looking at a report online about ECCDE had an enrollment figure of over 3 million, right? And they required about 133,924 teachers, but had 257,000 over, an excess of that. And of course, that's an excess of 81,000. Now, we're having this for the junior secondary school teachers and students, rather, and the ECCDE. Why is it hard? Because I'm finding it hard to believe that it's a problem of recruitment, that we're not having enough in the primary schools, whereas in the secondary school we have over enough.
Well, that is the report from UBEC.
Yes.
As a practitioner, I believe we have shortages in all spheres.
Okay.
I am in the classroom.
All the way.
I am in the classroom.
Okay.
Figure is a very interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
This figure UBEC has given, how reliable? And I think that is what I'm testing now.
Okay, okay.
If you take that 3,348,112 and divide it by that 133, based on their expectation.
Yes.
Their expectation is that the teacher ratio to student should be 25. Mm-hmm. And if you actually divide that figure, that is what it's going to give you.
True.
Ratio 1 to 25. That is the standard. But is that what is obtainable? Okay. There is lopsidedness. We have, more of this teacher within the cosmopolitan. And even as it is, you have greater number of students in terms of ratio to the teachers there. I am sure in Lagos, in the last 2-3 years, we have had recruitment of teachers into primary school 2 times at 1,000 per each recruitment exercise. That means if I have given the average of the need of teacher per state as 5,000, by my analysis of earlier, Lagos has taken care of 2,000 in the last 2 years. At the primary school level, I can confirm that. And it is still ongoing. But let's just take it as an average that all of us must monitor all the state governors and ensure that between now and 1 year, I heard of Samfara who has just announced his interest this morning to recruit about 1,000 or 2,000. But the fact is that we must be on their neck and make sure that what we actually needed in every state now is 5,000. But that 5,000 is an average thing. It doesn't cut across because the figure varies.
It could be higher.
So this analysis by UBEC is just, to me, it's not absolutely reliable and valid.
So what is Lagos State now doing differently?
Like I've said, systematically, in primary school, in the last 2 or 3 years, we have done 2 batches of 1,000.
Okay.
But
at the secondary school level, whether junior or senior secondary, what we do on regular basis is replacement. when we have 5 grade level 17, 16 that retires, then we quantify the wage bill and make sure that how many of younger level 8 that we can use to replace them, so that to maintain the wage, balance. So that has been the approach in Lagos.
And of course, Lagos State still pays well, right?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. Along with every other category of worker. That's why I said that this data is not absolutely reliable. It's more of burden of some states now being spread across. That does not mean that even in Lagos we don't have challenge.
Because I was about asking.
When this is done.
Right, Mr. Hassan, I was about asking that there is still a shortfall.
Yes,
despite the effort.
Despite the effort.
There is still a shortfall.
Despite the effort.
Okay.
Especially in respect of rural areas. In respect of rural areas. Because when these young teachers are recruited, they always want to stay within the metropolis of Ikeja, Bagada, because, and you can't come into job without know one person or the other. So you still run to the uncle as assisted, or probably one way or the other that uncle, I don't want to go far.
So how do we correct
where
this?
Teachers are actually needed in the far Ibejule.
Exactly.
In the far of Ojo. On this,
so how do we correct
that is
this?
the area I want to focus as well.
Okay.
The deployment is skewed, and what we need to do is that education, I said, is a very strong driver of development, and when you are planning for development, it has to be holistic. That means in recruiting teachers or in driving development, you must ensure that you make provision for certain structural facility in the remote area that will, negate that idea of rural-urban drift. Take, for instance, in UK now. Whatever you see in the major city, you have it in these rural areas, even though on a smaller scale. Okay. But the fact is that you don't envy somebody who is within the metropolis of London. Your Tesco is there, is everywhere. Your Sainsbury is here, is everywhere. So you are not lacking anything. And the minimum wage remain the same. So even when you stay in this remote area, you are probably going to even spend less. Because the cost of accommodation will be better. There are certain things that could be done. If you want to, move this, because the person that actually needed this social service is that poor man's daughter and sons in the rural setting who cannot afford the cost of living in Ikeja.
But if you're sending someone from Ikeja that stays in Ikeja or within the mainland to a place in Ekpe to go and teach, how do you expect the person to be comfortable going there on a daily basis?
That is exactly why I'm driving at development is a process. It has to be holistic. While you are planning to recruit someone and you know that his services or her services is needed in the far Ekpe rural area, then you must think of how to make him comfortable so that he will not envy somebody who is in Ikeja. Probably by providing accommodation that will be well furnished. It is not too much for any government to do. In those days, the colonial masters, the Christian missionaries who brought education, Western education, you see most of those schools, they are standard. You have staff quarter. You will love to be a son and daughter of a teacher. What is mixing? Is this so difficult? I'll give a narrative. If you have any agency of government that spends money, spends revenue, go and look at their offices. Everything will be massively invested in that agency. And everybody will be willing to work there. You see, go and see the Lagos State Building Control Agency office. Go and see Lagos State Internal Revenue Service office. Go and see all those agencies. Have you been to our schools? Where you have, where we say that we are better off. We are not there yet. Even though we are better off, we stand tall among the committee of state, but we are not there yet. Even though we realize that, oh, we are the high of the Africa, then we can't do things the same way people are doing it. We have to do it differently. What about the pace? And this is the reason why over the years we have been clamoring that those who have passion for the job, those who already knew the challenges and they have done the consequences and they are already in need, why can't we retain them till we get this thing right? But instead, people in the position of authority, they thought that they are doing us favor. It is not even favor to those who are still in the system. We are even thinking of securing job for those who are just coming in. Because as a school leaver now, before you gain admission after the school start, you will spend 1 or 2 years at home. And when you even gain admission, the incessant strike due to the failure of government to do the needful within the education sector at the tertiary level has led to, incessant strike action. And that will add additional 2 or 3 years
stay in school
to the duration. 2 plus 2 at average. And when you even come out, service year 1 year, then while looking for job, you will spend, if you know somebody, at least 1 or 2 years. That 6 year is going to be a kind of negative effect in terms of the year of service.
All right.
So if we are agitating for elongation, we are actually trying to correct the damages that the society has done to this young school leaver.
All right.
Because they would rather retire prematurely.
Mr. Hassan, so in addition to this, and while we are talking about this very burdensome issue, universal basic education is free and compulsory. It's the right of every Nigerian child, and yet we are having such a big population of out-of-school children. And some have said this is part of the reason why we are having more than 15 million children out of school. There is also like a recommendation talking about this language policy,
yep,
at the primary school level, which is also not being adhered to. Is that also a reason? Could that also be a reason? Because some are saying that some of our teachers at this primary school level are not even equipped enough to teach the children in their mother tongue that will aid their understanding. I want you to also help us understand what's going on in that regard.
We have 2 things embedded in your question. The issue of compulsion and free in terms of basic ingredient of the law that established UBEC. Compulsory for who? For every child. Who now enforce that compulsion? You see, we establish law without following it up. The UBEC, as an agency of federal government, rather relies on persuasion to enforce. Because for you to make it compulsory for the children, that means you must meet up with your own obligation. There is fund provided by the federal government. Most of the states, because they will have to bring counterpart fund, could not harness the fund that would drive this access to education by all. So we begin to, act based on the dictate of law. If we say education is compulsory and free, how are we driving it and ensure that we all play our role to make it so? Then, in the area of bilingual, it might be a bit difficult here, probably because we are not could I say, same or unilingual society.
Even in a state like Lagos.
Even in a state like Lagos. If we choose to use one of our indigenous language now, in a classroom where we have a FIC as a cosmopolitan, say Bibio, Urobo, Yoruba, Igbo. So where do we come in? So, and I think we have alternative. It's only most of the time we are not sensitive to our situation. you know, development is local. Development process is local, anywhere. And there is room for innovation before you can, you know, witness any development. God has endowed us naturally over the year. We just develop a language that is common to all, Pidgin English.
Okay.
So why can't we develop along that direction? That you don't need to speak big grammar. If you find yourself within the Hausa community, as you speak the little simple English, you infuse it with it, then teaching has gone beyond explanation. It has gone beyond explanation. You see, a philosopher says, tell me, I may forget. Show me, I may remember. But involve me, I can never forget. You know, when you want to teach and you want retainers, you guys need to invest so much. You show. You also allow the student to participate. Then it retains in their memory.
So she use our mother.
Put salt inside water. Put it and let him see
so
it dissolves.
So just like the Jamaicans, we should use Pidgin English to teach mathematics.
That appears to be unifying.
Or biology.
It's just not like even about the method. It's about the result.
So you think people will learn faster with our local parlance?
What does it make the difference now? If I speak English and the student I'm teaching doesn't really understand the English, okay, but he understands Yoruba, and I tell him that, they call it sodium chloride. What I want to teach you is solubility. You know, infusing it. And you know, the teaching is not about telling him, put salt inside water, it dissolves. There is a lesson to draw from it. Like I always tell people about the teaching of mathematics. That is not about algebra. It's not about the simultaneous equation. It's about, you know, you want to teach your student that in life is about problem solving.
Absolutely.
And in solving problem, you engage yourself in critical thinking. That's it.
It's not exactly about the plus or minus. And
so that's why in this part of the world, we forget about the lesson we want to draw from the knowledge. We emphasize on the teaching of the knowledge rather than the application of the knowledge. It is the application of the knowledge that can solve the societal problem.
All right. We thank you very much. That will be a fine place to, rest our conversations for now. This is something that we may never exhaust. We may never, ever exhaust, even if we bring you as often as possible. But thank you so much for your work, and thank you for your time with us. Lagos State Chairman, Nigeria Union of Teachers, Akintoye Hassan. Thanks a lot for your contributions.
You're welcome.
And when we return from this break, it will be time to